What's up, everybody, and welcome back to yet another video. This time not featuring a speed paint, as you can see, but featuring an art critique slash review slash critique. This is new for me, so bear with me. I've always told myself I was a little apprehensive about doing critiques or art reviews because I am no art professional by any means. But yeah, here we go. As you can see, or maybe you can't see because it's sideways, but as I stated in my last video, Jinx M336 asked of me, well, not asked of me, but asked if it would be possible for me to critique some of his art, which I thought was really cool. Like I said in the video, I was truly honored. I am still truly honored that somebody would, initially subscribe to the channel and then ask for art critique. So I did a little pre-preparation, as you can see on the screen right here. Up top is a couple pieces. Excuse the lag, my computer needs to update. I didn't feel like updating it yet, but yeah, here's a few pre-pieces that he sent me. As you can see, dude has some skill. I won't say some skill, that sounds terrible. Dude has skill and a great deal of talent and creativity. Creativity is something that can't be taught. It can be learned, but it has to come from inside. It has to come from somewhere other than, teaching and all that stuff. As you can see from these character designs right here, I really dig them. They're right up my alley. I'm really big into fantasy. As you can see, there's some sea creatures, a nymph, fire nymph, and some type of galactic being. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I know the fire nymph had fire nymph on the picture, so I know exactly what that is. And so nymphs, merfolk creatures, galactic beings is right up my alley. So this is going to be fun. So as you can see, yes, Jinx has a lot of skill. I really like his art, and another good thing about it is he was saying in the comment that he is actually going to art college or art school. I believe college, yeah, art school. And like I said in the video before, that's something that I recommend for every artist, even if it's not technically enrolling for like a degree. Definitely take some art courses. Like I said, I'm planning on going back and taking some art courses just to brush up on my technique and all that good stuff. But yeah, you're definitely going to learn a lot, Jinx, once you get to art college. I'm not going to be able to teach you everything because I don't know everything, but I'm going to give you some insight or some tips that I picked up throughout the years, not only back when I was in high school from one of my favorite art teachers in high school, also when I went to college as well. I didn't graduate from the college I went to. It was a community college, but I took some art courses there, and that helped as well. So yeah, I'm going to give you a couple things that I learned and that I picked up on during those times. So here we go. So a couple critiques. As you can see, I wrote a little bit up here just to help me out. I didn't write a script. I just scribbled on this little sheet I made right here on the screen to help me stay focused because I tend to deviate a lot. So I'm going to try to stay focused. So I wrote dynamic poses next to these two right here. As you can see, the poses are quite similar, and they're not bad poses at all. As you can see, they convey exactly what you're trying to convey with the characters themselves. But one thing, especially when you tend to draw a lot, and I personally find myself drawing a lot more now than ever, so I try to deviate from using similar poses, even if it's as small as like hand positioning or foot positioning or head positioning. I try to change it up, even though I find myself going to what is called safe poses, or what I like to call safe poses, which I tend to do just, innately because it's a safe pose. You know how to do it. You've done it before. You're comfortable doing it, so you're going to generally go straight back toward that pose. So with these two guys right here, the lizard creature and the fire nymph, the pose is kind of similar, even though there's slight differences. You want to try to avoid straight toward the viewer poses. I mean, sometimes it makes sense, and a lot of times it works, but you want to try to change it up a little bit, even if it's something slightly as turning the body away from the camera. So what I did was I Googled for the fire nymph. I Googled a girl kneeling. Oh, sorry, I hit my hand on the desk. I Googled girl kneeling, and that goes back to references. Using references is a big thing in the art world. Don't let anybody tell you that references are a bad thing. I don't even know if anybody would say that, but some people may. I don't know. But references are key. All artists use references, whether they're painters, digital artists, graphic designers, molders. It doesn't matter. Everybody uses a reference for something. So I Googled girl kneeling, and also for the lizard guy, I Googled, kneeling with spear or crouching with spear, just to get a good idea of what's out there as far as being used for references. And these are the two that I came up with. As you can see, pretty similar to what you already have, but just a slight difference. And as you can see, the slight differences could change the dynamics of the picture. Like even with this guy right here, is completely, I won't say completely, but it's very, very identical to what you already had. Just a slight change in the arm positioning, as you can see, and it gives it a little bit more life. And it wouldn't deviate or take away from your character, as you can see. The head position isn't that much different. The body position really isn't that much different. It's just a couple twists here, and there's asymmetry is what you want to look for in a pose. I'm still learning this, so don't take my word as golden, because I'm still learning this myself, as you can see in a lot of pictures that I've done recently or even in the past. I'm learning. We're all learning as artists, so I think that's a really cool pose, as you can see. Excuse me if I sound a little weird. I'm a little under the weather, so forgive me for that. But yeah, this pose is really cool. There's tons more references online. I just picked the one that was more similar to your general idea or your initial idea, and there you go with that one. And same for her. The pose is pretty similar. It's just a little twist. It wouldn't take away from the character. You would still be able to see all of the character elements, as far as the fire coming from her. I'm assuming that's her palms and across her waist, which could be like fire clothing, which would be really cool, a cool concept. But yeah, it wouldn't take away. All you would have to do is just alter her arms. I'm going to go in and do that real quick, just to show that it wouldn't deviate too far. So yeah, I just bring it up here. Actually, no, her hands are kind of close together. So that would be her back arm. And then this would be her front arm. With the exception of, depending on how you want to go about it. So I just put that there. And then her hands will be here in a little cupping pose as she's cupping this fire, I'm assuming, or yeah. So yeah, you can see it's similar, and it's really, really beneficial to use references. You wouldn't even have to change anything with this guy right here, because that pose is really great. But if you wanted to, because I try to change it up, because I don't like utilizing a reference in detail. So I'll probably bring his arm out a little bit just to change it up, and then put his hands right here. He'd still be holding the staff or spear, but it would be a slight difference. Or I do the same thing, except I bring his arm up. And have it going across the top. And then have his hand down here. Excuse the jankiness of this sketch, but yeah, so tons of things you can do with the reference. Even as far as, even as far as changing the position of the head. And this is not too long ago, well, not too long ago, but a few moments back, I was talking about safe poses. Same can be done for the face. Like, I always go to a safe pose. I'm trying to deviate from it, but sometimes it just works. And if it works, and it ain't broke, don't fix it. So yeah, this would be just small changes like that. I try to change it up a little bit. And yeah. So that goes for those. So yeah, so what you want to do, like I said, Jinx, to try to come up with dynamic poses. And trust me, coming up with poses is very difficult. Sometimes it comes organically, but when you're trying to do something outside of the box or outside of the norm for you as an artist, it tends to be tough. I'm not going to lie and say it's easy for me. Sometimes I work on a sketch, a pose, for maybe like an hour, tops. Well, I won't say tops, no, minimum. If I want it to look good. So yeah, that goes for those. But like I said, already, you're on a good road. You have great concepts, you have great ideas, and you have a great understanding of anatomy, which, believe it or not, is really difficult for a lot of us. And even myself, I find it difficult at times, because there's so many different ways a human body can move and pose, and then the muscles, and then you want it to look good. And sometimes you can get away with faking it, either exaggerating a pose or a body proportion or something like that. You can get away with it, but you have to have a good idea of how the human body moves and functions, and you have that already, which is really great. So it's gonna bring me into my next point, which is shapes. Well, I put right here shapes, bodies, etc. So a good thing to keep in mind when drawing bodies is that or anything for the matter, is everything can be broken down into shapes. So I'm going to do that here just real quickly. And it doesn't have to be perfect, especially for a sketch. Everything can be broken down into a shape. As you can see, of course, the head is going to be a circle. And the way everybody does their sketches differently too. So don't take what I'm doing and, take it as Bible and what they say back home, or as fact. So, but it just makes things a lot easier, especially when you're drawing. So, the head is a basic circle, and then you have an oval, or I guess a half oval. I don't know what you would call this shape right there. Something for the face. It could be a line. Everybody has their different ways of doing things. But then you're gonna come here, which is gonna be the shoulder. This is how I do it. I'm not saying this is the proper way to do it, because everybody has their own way, their own methods. But this is how I do it, and it makes it a little easier for myself. So then this is the shoulder width, is what I do, how I gauge the shoulder width per character or per picture. And then I go down to shoulders, which are a circle, and then an oval for the bicep. And then I always do a little circle for, let me erase that so you can see a little circle for the elbow. It's probably not necessary, but I find it a little necessary for myself. And it doesn't have to go in this order. Like I said, everybody has their own order. And then I'll do another oval for the forearm, which that's not going to be the final shape, of course, but that helps get the pose and everything down as an idea or concept. So then you go over, the breasts are circles, which are really tough to draw, but it's a sketch. So yeah, I normally just, because we can go in and clean it up after. I don't try to make the sketch perfect. Sometimes the imperfection of a sketch makes it look better than the finished product. So then you're going to go down to the waist, and the waist is, again, kind of like a half cylinder, and then I always put a little circle indicator right there to let me know where the stomach and the waist is going to pick up. And I'm just going over what you're doing, as you can see, so you can see how it translates. So then another cylinder for the waist area, but then I normally come down and do this. So that's the waist right there. I mean the torso, sorry, keep saying waist. The waistline is there, but torso is a lot easier to remember. And here's where anatomy really comes into play. I would recommend utilizing the internet and YouTube and all that good stuff that we have nowadays, because before the internet was a thing or was popping, you had to go out and buy books for references. I had tons of them, man. I miss those books. The anatomy books, those are still really great to have. I would recommend investing in some. I have to re-buy some because I don't know what happened to my older ones, but this is where it would come into play as far as learning where certain muscles pop up and appear, and I won't say disappear because muscles don't disappear, but where you would see them more often or more prominently, I should say. That looked like a male bulge, so I'm going to fix that. And so like I said, this is where anatomy will really come into play. So same thing for this portion. Come down like that. And the tricky part for me has always been legs, or one of the tricky parts. I won't say it's the only one, but it's still pretty straightforward. Shapes, kneecap, calf, leg, shin, or whatever you want to call it. Same thing goes here, kneecap, calf, shin. Same for feet. Now, like I said, everybody's going to have their own way of doing things. This is just the way I've grown to do it over the years. And it tends to help me. It might not be the best route for most people or some people, if anybody, but it works for me. So, as you can see, everything was broken down into a shape. Now, granted, you don't have to stick with those shapes. You can deviate, you can, do other things. But yeah, everything is broken down into a shape. Let me lighten this up a bit. Yeah, so you can see I forgot. The shoulder, yeah. Shoulder area. Yeah, so that's pretty much it with the shapes. And once you do that enough, you'll get a good understanding of ways you can do poses and everything like that, because everything can be broken down into shapes. As you can see, even these right here, I can look right at it and see shapes. I'm sure you can as well. And last but not least, we're going to go off into what I think the most important thing to learn. It's funny because a client of mine, I'm working on a commission at the moment, and he asked me to critique some of his work that he sent me to redraw for him. It was a bomb ass character. He was original character. he's worked on, and I'm quite honored that he asked me to help bring it to life. But same thing I told him is value and light source, because he did the sketch, the drawing concept himself, and it looked good. But I told him, like, when it comes to painting or coloring, whether it's digital or traditional, you want to get a good grasp of light source. And so what I did was, using this technique right here with the shapes, I actually redrew this figure so I can go ahead and show a little bit about light source. So let me find it on the layers. Okay, right there, that's the skin. I'm going to go ahead and make this layer. So light source is pretty much straightforward. Is the source of light. Whatever direction the light source comes from is going to tell you where your shadows are going to go and your highlights are going to go. So to make it quick, I'm going to select a darker color for skin tone, and I don't want to just go up and down in the color wheel. I want to change the contrast a little bit to make it more realistic, because I mean, when you look at the way lights and shadows work in real life, sorry, that was my phone. Anyway, if you look at how light and shadows work in real life, there are multiple colors in one color, if that makes sense. If you see a blue out in the sunlight, you're going to see different hues of that blue. You might see some green tones, some other cool tones to make that blue pop. So you want to keep that in mind. It's really tough to keep that in mind. It's something I'm still working on. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead. So being that the light source, oh, wait a minute. Okay, so being that the light source is coming from, wait a minute. Being that the light source is coming from, what the heck is that? Okay, being that the light source is coming from up here to down here, that means that all of the light is going to hit on this side, and the shadows will hit on this side. So to give an example, I'm going to go ahead with the shadow brush. No, right there. Shadow brush, and just hit the shadows on this side because the light is on the opposite side. Now, the tricky part about doing shadows is, or not the tricky part, but the one thing to keep in mind about shadows is that the better you get at them, the more believable it'll become, and the more you can actually freestyle and kind of like fake it, you know, because, you know, as an artist, you have creative liberties, so you're going to utilize them. I utilize them all the time, and as an artist, you should too. So yeah, there's no one way to do shadows or to place shadows, just as long as they're believable with the rest of the light source. So yeah, everything is going to be on the under part of her for the most part. Same goes here. I'm just going to do it quickly. Same goes here, down to the foot, the little ankle bone, the inner thigh. Bam, bam. And the better you get at it, like I said, the more you'll be able to play around with it and put a little, you know, creative spin on it. And being that her arm is right here, you're also going to put a little shadow there too. And yeah, that's pretty much it right there. For the shadow, I'm going to blend it out a little bit to make it look a little better. But I'm not going to go too much into detail because it's just a little practice run. Sorry if I'm a little quiet. I'm trying to draw and speak into the mic at the same time, and the mic is not right in front of me. So yeah, this is pretty straightforward. I'm just going in and blending it now. Give it a little bit more life. But even with colored pencils, I can never say that right. Even with colored pencil or marker, the concept is still the same. I've done a lot of coloring traditional with colored pencils and markers before I went digital, and I would use the same technique. Coloring pencils is a lot more forgiving than markers because you can always start off light and then get darker. Same thing with markers, but with coloring pencils, it's a lot more safer. So it'll be really good practice. I mean, as you can see, you've actually, let me get rid of that. Where is it? Okay, you have an understanding, as you can see some of the shading here in your piece right here. There's a few hiccups here and there, but it's to be expected. You know, we all have hiccups in our art. There's nothing, you know, tragic. So it's just something we want to work on and practice and, you know, keep a good eye on. Stupid computer. So I'm just going to wait for the computer to pick back up. I can't wait to get a new computer. I guarantee you it will be very soon. Anywho, so yep, that's with the shadow. Just basic, and I'm going to go in with the highlight. So same thing goes. I want to choose the lightest color with the dropper, and or with the color pencil, whatever you're using. You want to choose a lighter color. Or actually, if you're using coloring pencils, you're going to start off with all the light colors first and then go dark. Same thing with markers. So the good thing about digital is that you can mix it up however you see fit. So same thing for highlights. You want to choose a lighter color, but not the exact same color because you want it to have a little bit of contrast. So being that we colored her skin orange, the highlights are going to be a yellow. So I'm just going to do it very quickly. So I'm going to go in and same thing, the light source is here, so the highlights are going to be on the right side. Oopsie. Tend to be a little heavy-handed when it comes to painting, so gotta be a little careful. Because the harder I press on this tablet pen, the easier it is to screw it up. But good thing about digital is the back button or key or whatever you set it to. So I'm just going to go in, do some of the highlights here, bam, bam, bam. Nothing too major, just to get the point across. Oh, sorry if I get silent. This is actually the very first video that I've done where I'm drawing or painting and speaking. So can't chew gum and walk at the same time. That's me. So yeah, as you can see, pretty straightforward. So yeah, without going too much in detail, I'm just gonna put a couple pieces up here. And also, one of the things that I've recently, well, maybe the past couple years, I started doing, because I see a few artists do it, and I like the way it looked. It looked really cool. Is adding an extra layer of highlight or rim light or, you know, source light. It's called different things, but it's an extra highlight over the highlight. So as you can see, this highlight area that I'm doing right now, I mean, I could go in and do more details, but oh, I got this set to autosave too, which is great for me because sometimes my computer shuts down automatically and restarts. But yeah, so I go in and I go to where the shadows are, and I do an extra outer light highlight section, but I color it the same color as a flat tone or the main tone right here. So you can see it's not always, you know, that important, but I think it just gives it that extra cool pop that I like my pictures to have at times. So I just go in and color outside the shadow layer. It just gives it an extra dimension of life and color. I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You just have to go in and fix it. So I'm going in and blending that out because it didn't look that great unblended. All right, so for the final highlight is another rim light source. So this always depends on if there's like a secondary light color that you want to add into it. I normally use like a very bright soft color like a pink or purple or turquoise or something cool that pops, because those are some colors that I really like to highlight with. So that normally goes honestly anywhere you want it. But we're just sticking with the light source right now. So I normally go out and just kind of trace over it. Honestly, you can do it with a pure white too. Sometimes the pure white actually looks good on it as well. So this is just pretty straightforward. So this is still, as you can see, the light source coming from up here. So the brightest of the bright of your shadows or your highlights are going to come from this area, from this side. Put a little bit on her little ear. I mean, it's not really that important, but whatever. So yeah, everything is still over here. The same thing goes for colored pencils, like I said, but the good thing about colored pencils is that you start off light, or markers, start off light with the lightest and then go dark. You don't want to start off dark and have to go light, especially with markers or colored pencils, because half the time you can't do it. You just can't. The dark colors won't let you go light unless you have like a white highlighter, or a lot of artists, traditional artists, use what is it called, like whiteout, correctional whiteout, or whatever it's called nowadays. I know back when I used to use it, it was called whiteout, but haven't used it in so long they could have come up with another name for it, who knows. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and finish adding these. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Pretty much it for that one. Of course, you can go in and always add more. Like I said, once you get a good grasp of it, you can just freestyle it. Like, you can add it to where it probably wouldn't even show up just because it looks good. You know, you just have to have a good understanding of how light works before you can get to that point to make it look believable when it's really exaggerated. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add that there. Bam, bam, bam. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for that one. And so we're going to do the same thing, except we're going to change the light source over here. As you can see, I already got it shining here. Shining, shining, shining. So I'm going to go ahead and pluck some of these dark colors from this one. And now the light source is coming from the left. Oops. It's coming from the left. That arrow looks terrible. Okay, coming from the left. So we're going to go ahead and bam, 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 bam. Put the shadows back here. As you can see. Now, I tend to normally draw my light sources coming from the same spot, which I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Probably a bad thing when all your pictures look like they're lit from the same light source and they're on different sheets of paper. But I don't know. Like I said, we have every artist has their comfort zone. And with me, the lights are maybe because I'm right-handed. Maybe that's what it is, because all my light sources always come from the right. So most of my pictures look like this one on the right hand side, lit from the right. But I try to change it up every now and again too. But yeah, so for this one, the story's still the same. Not the story, the concept still the same. Light source from the left, all the shadows will be on the right. I really apologize. I don't know if y'all can hear my stomach growling or not. This microphone picks up everything, but I am hungry. I should have eaten before, but it's all good. I'll eat after. So yeah, same thing. So the heavier shadows are all going to come from this side. Even though, as you can see, still similar, but the emphasis is going to be more so on the right. As you can see, I'll just go ahead and do this quickly because I'm starving, and I don't know if y'all can hear my stomach grumbling or not. But I can imagine it's annoying if y'all can. So yeah, we're gonna get this done. Again, right side, right side, right side. Right side, right side. Right side. Alrighty, I think that's pretty good on that side. Alright, so as you can see, she is lit. No, but literally lit from the left side. And it seems a lot easier than what it is, honestly. Like it's taken years and years of, you know, practicing, and like I said, I'm still learning. I don't know all the tricks of the trade, but you know, it's one step at a time. Yeah, the more you do it, the better you'll get at it, and the quicker you'll be able to understand, like, okay, where do I want to place my light? Where do I want to place the shadows? Where do I want to, you know, blah, blah, blah. Alrighty, so we're gonna go in with the lighter color. Same concept, except on the left. On the left. I'm just rushing through it now so I can go ahead and get something to eat. But yeah, y'all pretty much get it. I'm sure y'all get it at this point. It's the same concept. Get the boobies, like them. For the tummy. Face. It's pretty straightforward with the face. This other arm. And blend that out a bit. And lastly, the whitest of the whites, because the brightest area of the light source is in the front, well, on the left. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. Get the boobies. So now the concept still applies, even with, as you can see, the arm is pointing straight toward the light source. So I'm going to immediately put it on the right hand side, the brightest portion of the light source, because there's an angle. And even if they're, like, if her arm was straight up, the brightest part of the white will be on the left side of her arm. Excuse me. But let me go ahead and finish this. Light, 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 light on the right. Alrighty. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't want to keep this video going too long. It's probably what, an hour I gotta cut down. So trust me, it's going to be a lot of speeding. But anyway, yeah, so that's pretty much it. I can go back in and do the same thing for this side, except with the neutral color. And I think it gives the image a lot more pop once you do that, especially if there's a background, like a solid color background, or even a busier background going on. Even though there's no light source shining on the right side, it's always good. It helps the picture stand out to give it a little bit of a outline or rim light of some sort. Alrighty, so yeah, that's pretty much it. Jinx, I do appreciate you for 1, subscribing to the channel, and for 2, asking for my critique / advice. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So just keep in mind, dynamic poses, use references. References are really key, and it helps your pictures become more varied as far as pose and style. Definitely use those, and remember to tweak the reference. You don't want to use a reference, you know, identically. Is that identically? Is that a word? You don't want to use the picture in its entirety. You definitely want to change it up a little bit if you do use a reference, but references are key. Also, remember shapes and bodies, circles, shapes, all of it helps. Every single one. Where is that image? I'm going to lighten that up a little bit. Yep. Everything helps. Shapes, shapes, shapes. And last but not least, values and light source. Well, values is just another term for shading and shadows and highlights, different color variations, etc. So, yeah, just remember those, Jinx, and yeah, you'll be well on your way. I mean, honestly, you're going to get all this information once you enroll into art school anyway. So, like I said, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. Learn your own techniques once you get down to it. Listen to your instructors. If you have questions, definitely ask them. I've had some one-on-ones with instructors in the past, and they've given me advice and tips that I still use to this day. So listen, 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 and you will be well on your way. Once again, I want to thank you, Jinx, for everything, man. I appreciate your support. Everybody else, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch y'all later. Peace.